Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and Taekwondo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
This podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, skillsconnect.co.uk, the world's leading children's development program for martial arts.
If you would like to know more about what the Motivated Martial Artists have lined up for the rest of this year, come along and see us at the UK Martial Arts Show in Doncaster Dome on the 2nd and 3rd of May, where we'll be on the main stage with our US partners, Skills Worldwide.
Welcome to the Motivated Martial Artists podcast with me, Gavin Cook.
And me, Jackson White.
And today we're sat in remote studios because of the drastic coronavirus has kept us grounded. And we've got a gentleman on the podcast today called Carl Den. Is that how I pronounce it, Carl? Carl Den or Carl Denny?
Denny.
So I just met Carl a couple of days ago, actually, through a Facebook platform. We was on the Disruptive Entrepreneur platform, and Carl was talking about looking at doing virtual classes for his students, and he was reaching out for a bit of assistance on how people are doing it. So I contacted him because we're all martial artists, obviously, and we're all struggling with the possibility of not being able to do our regular classes for a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, who knows? So we're just going to talk about today a couple of the topics which are quite prominent at the moment with the coronavirus thing kicking off. We're going to talk about fear, we're going to talk about goal setting, and we're going to look at talking about keeping in a routine. But first of all, I'm just going to pass you over to Carl so we can do a bit of an introduction, tell everybody a little bit about what he does and where he's from and how we had this sort of chance meeting, really. Over to you, Carl.
Thank you, buddy. Right, so as you said, my name's Carl Denny. I'm from Hastings and I run Hastings Kickboxing Academy. We're a full contact kickboxing gym and we have our own full-time facility. And we was teaching 39 classes a week until yesterday. And that, the government have stepped in and, as you guys well know, they've put a stop to that for the moment. So yeah, that's obviously, we like exactly how you said, we met the other day online. And there was quite a bit of chit chat, and I thought, I recognise your name. I've seen you on bits and pieces, so I thought I'd just reach out to you, say hello, and here we are now. Really,
yeah, it's interesting because I was chatting to Carl about the podcast that we do, and I didn't realise that Carl actually has his own podcast that he's just launched. So that'd be cool to know a little bit more about that, Carl.
Yeah. So again, we only launched 2 weeks ago. It's called Kickstart Your Confidence Podcast. It's obviously based around boosting people's confidence, which is what we do every single day in the gym, time and time. So although I try not to link it to the gym constantly, obviously we talk about family backgrounds and we've talked about suicide and cancer in family and, like some quite heavy losses. And to be honest, when I started podcasting, I didn't even know that it was going to go that way. I just thought, it seems cool. We've got a good network around us and people always come to me for advice or just to tune my ear off, basically. So a few people said, you'd be really good at it. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And literally the second podcast I sent out, it was one of my coaches, and she basically unraveled her life to me, which was really, really quite emotional. It kind of took us to a new level. But what I didn't realise, obviously we didn't really talk about the gym, we talked about her losses, about her losing her sister, and then her second sister got a brain tumour, and she literally lost her like 3-4 days ago. So it was really sad. And when it went out, I had about 5 people in as many days come up to me and go, oh my God, listen to that podcast. I need to talk to you. I need to sit down and kind of get it off my chest. So I've had some really quite emotional, quite touching podcasts. I didn't even know we were going to go that way with it. And I've been talking to teenagers about bullying online and, Instagram and Snapchat, the problems there. And it's been an amazing journey, and it has only been like a few weeks.
Quite amazing, isn't it, how quickly if you've got a good subject and a good story, people actually can relate to that, particularly emotional stories, and they can get involved in it, and they feel that connection, and it really will help drive your podcast forward without a doubt.
definitely. I was quite blown away, quite shocked from. I suppose it's like counselling, isn't it? Like people sit down, and they start talking, and then an hour later, you think, "Wow, did we just really talk about all that?"
Yeah, it's funny because I know when we started our podcast journey, and I said to Jackson, and Jackson was like, "Well, who's going to want to listen to us? Who's going to want to hear about our story?" I said, "Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, really." I said, "But let's just give it a go." And like I say, once you start it, it becomes a real journey, especially when you start getting people. I loved your podcast. You're doing a great thing. You guys keep going. We really enjoy listening. We're on episode 50 or episode this, and we want to hear the rest of them. And it's mad. It just inspires you to keep going, doesn't it? And to keep getting good guests on and keep getting good subject matter to talk about, such as hopefully the stuff that we're going to have a bit of a chat about today. Yeah,
I mean, for me, the biggest thing I've realised, whether you're a martial artist, a child, an adult, you're a kickboxer, you're a boxer, you're a taekwondo expert, if you're a manager of a business, if you're a mum, a dad, straight, gay, like we all carry exactly the same issues, exactly the same problems, fears, demons. You just don't know about it because no one will talk about it.
That's right. And I think more importantly for our male audience as well, it's a common fact is that males don't tend to have that same unloading ability with their friends. It's all a little bit of piss taking, a little bit of banter, and males generally don't open up to other males about their problems, and they certainly don't open up to other people. So it is good to get that conversation going, allow people to have understand those related experiences.
Definitely,
and that it goes into kids as well, doesn't it? I know my eldest son is 14. And trying to get him to speak about stuff is just near on impossible. You know what they're like. He'll chat to their mates. You can hear him chatting on the phone. And the minute I say, is everything all right, Harry? And try to discuss the fact that we're going to be in lockdown for 6 months. Well, whatever. Can I go to the park now? It's one of those, isn't it? It's so difficult. Do you want to? Which subject should we cover first then? So I think we've got fear to cover, which is again quite an important one. I think goal setting as well.
Well, if why don't you kick off with fear, Gavin, and you can talk about every time you've faced me in the ring. That's not. I don't think fear is the word, is it? That I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think let's start.
Always seem quite nervous.
Because then we can go on to routine and then go goal setting as a positive way to kind of finish off, I think.
Yeah, sure. I mean, certainly from observations currently, and not just in the martial arts fraternity, but just general. When you look at the supermarkets and you look at the panic buying, it's quite obvious that fear has really got a grip of the economy. It's got a grip of the people within it, and people are almost, speaking to people, they're almost paralysed by fear. I've had that fear over the last couple of weeks, probably as you have, Carl, because we're full-time instructors. And all of a sudden, I was paralysed by, what's going to happen? Am I going to lose all my students? Am I going to lose my club? Am I going to lose everything that I've worked for over the last 10 years? And it's not just, as I was saying to you earlier on, I've got a service accommodation business as well. And you can see how the hospitality industry is being hit. So within the space of sort of 2 weeks, I've gone from, I suppose, battling with my martial arts club, with the students, and speaking to them about how we're going to change things and how we're going to move to the virtual platform. And then the service accommodation business is literally, I've got 3 properties in York that have all got nobody in. And we're now housing people that want to self-isolate because of the coronavirus. It's just mad, and it's happened so fast, hasn't it? You've gone from being a thriving business 2 weeks ago to all of a sudden, almost laughing about the coronavirus, 2 or 3 weeks ago, thinking, what the hell is it? It's going to blow over, to almost a near lockdown. Everyone's panicking. It's not just us as instructors that are feeling that pressure. Obviously, our students, they've all got jobs and they've all got incomes, and all their incomes and stuff are being hit as well. So I think it's really important in a time of fear to really dig down and try to look for that, have that indomitable spirit that we're taught as martial artists, and to really start looking for the positive angles in all of this. So when it all blows over, we're going to be standing on the top of the mountain thinking, looking back thinking, I'm glad we put those little measures in place when everyone was fearful. Who is it? It's Warren Buffett, isn't it? Warren Buffett that says, be brave when everyone's fearful, and be fearful when everyone's being brave, in terms of the stock market and stuff like that. And it's totally, once everyone's being there, when you look at the stock market, how it's dived, and now everyone is being really, really fearful and panicking, now's the time to take those measures to sort of, when we come out the other end, to be on top.
So in your opinion, Carl, what's your interpretation of fear in the current climate?
The core. I think you see a mixture between people. So I think it'd be fair to say, if I talk about my members, because they're closest to me, and my family, my fear is, because we're now going online, our members will obviously stop their memberships because they can't afford to pay it and leave, because they're not being trained in the gym. So they're fearful that they're paying money and not getting a service. So if you haven't started that service yet, that won't start till Monday. So I'm fearful that long term I could potentially lose my dream. I had my 10-year party last year, but built it up from nothing. I wasn't given any handouts. Over 20 years we've built it up. It became a business 10 years ago. I've only been doing it 4 years full time. I left BT. I worked for BT for 17 years. Left BT and done this full time. And my fear is, I'm not scared about getting ill. I'm not scared about, it's 1%, and even that 1% is 17 and above, or young babies. So
or Jackson White, who's just getting over it.
Yeah. But like you say, we're fit, we're strong, we're positive.
Yeah, we'll get over it.
It's a bad flu. We'll get over it. So I'm not worried about catching it. If I'm brutally honest, I'm worried that my members, my family, my network of people that I love possibly might not have a gym to come back to. Now, that's not going to happen. But the fear for me is all week. We were really busy up to Wednesday. So we still had 20 adults, 25 teens, and 15 cadets come in. We were still 30% down, but we still were busy. Whereas a lot of gyms going, we had 4 in tonight, we had 2 in tonight. So we were still busy. And I'm going, no, guys, it's going to be fine. We're going to crack on. We're going to take over. It's going to be great. We're going to smash it. And then literally last night, I got home, and obviously, if you say you're not going to do something, it's all right. If someone tells you can't do something, all of a sudden, it's a little bit different. It's a bit like a diet. I'm not going to eat chocolate this week because you've said it's cool. But if someone says to you, you're not allowed chocolate for a week, all you want is that chocolate. Yeah. So the fact the government have said, right, you are closing. I come home last night and I'm like, what we've built is, we've told everyone we're going to reopen in 2 weeks, hopefully. But let's be honest, we're not sure, are we? And that's the fear for me. That's sitting thinking, I can't give my members what we were giving them.
Yeah, and I think that fear certainly resonates with me, because it was my last class last night as well. And I actually went to the class because I know Boris announced it until about 5. It was about 5 o'clock, wasn't it, yesterday when he sort of
five.
Yeah, and I was in my class at 4:30 teaching my little ninjas.
Same.
And I was there, and I was saying to them, look, guys, as long as they say we can stay open, we'll stay open. I want to be here for you. I appreciate a lot of people didn't want to come, which I understand. I totally respect all of that. But at the moment, I will try to keep serving you as long as you want to keep doing the classes. And obviously, we'll couple that with the online stuff. And last night, like I say, everyone was showing me the text and saying, "I'll just let you know, Gavin, that you can't open next week because Boris has just announced this." And it was weird because I was teaching the class, and it was almost like someone died in the room. It was almost like, I had one student, and he was like, "I can't believe this is going to be my last class for aid." I said, "Well, don't worry. You know what I mean? The online stuff's going to be good. The virtual stuff's going to be good. Just keep your head down and train at home." And I know lots of students have gone out and bought punch bags and sparring pads and stuff ready to practice at home. And I genuinely think the virtual thing is going to be awesome. To be honest, I'm actually quite excited about it, because it's something that me and Jackson, obviously, with what we do, we're digitising everything. We're used to doing Zoom conversations as part of our business strategies, and we're used to doing content and things like that. And I'm actually really quite excited about the thought of doing it. But like you said, Carl, 1 minute I'm really on a high, thinking this is going to be awesome, and all of a sudden it's like, actually, it's a bit crap, isn't it? I've got, it's, I've got, so you're up and down. as you said you were before.
I think, if we're being brutally honest, fear is of the unknown, isn't it? It's not knowing what's going to happen. It's not knowing or not having that control. And that's what I think is generating and creating all the fear that we're seeing at the moment. The fact that we don't know whether we're going to open those classes in 2 weeks, or Gavin said in 6 months. We don't know if our students are going to come back. We don't know if they're going to move onto our online platforms. We don't know if we're going to find the right. So, we're going back, to having thriving businesses, all of a sudden back to that position of total uncertainty. If you can probably think back to those days, I'm sure, I know it sat with Gavin because I talked to him through it, Carl. Do I leave my full-time job and do I go full-time as a martial arts instructor? It's that fear of the unknown. And, you talk to people, you get reassurance, and you do the figures, you do the maths, and eventually you convince yourself. Actually, we haven't got time to convince ourselves it's happening. And that causes fear.
Yeah.
So I think
you can calculate, can't you?
Is what all the fear is.
You can plan, but leaving BT, oh my God, took me 2 years.
Decision. A big decision to do. Yeah, well, do you know what? When I left the forces, and even now when I move from role to role in an organisation, it's not something I take lightly. Is it going to be the right role? Am I going to enjoy it? Is it going to fulfil me? Am I going to be successful in it? What if I fail? And it's that fear. So it's understandable, but I think in this particular situation, it's thrust upon us. We haven't got a choice. And that resonates the fear, and it makes it, I don't know, more vibrant, I think. And it's not just amongst martial arts instructors, it's amongst the general public. There's that undertone of fear. Is there enough food? Am I going to get paid? Am I going to pay my mortgage? It's about business owners. Am I going to pay my employees? Yeah. We'll talk about the blue roll later. Yeah, crazy. But I think that is the underlying thing, the uncertainty, the not knowing. But I think in this particular scenario that we have at the moment, if we can, control that fear and use that fear as a positive energy, then I think those of us that can do that, and it's not going to be everybody. It takes a certain type of person to overcome their fears, and particularly when those fears are thrust upon them, I think we'll be in better positions as martial arts instructors and business owners to come out the other side. Because certainly for myself and Gavin, we're already looking at the next level of technology that can support us, the next evolution of our martial arts businesses, where actually would we have jumped so quickly onto online platforms potentially? I suspect not. We would have dabbled in, like you say, maybe have taken us 2 years to get it going and launch it, because it's taken us out of that traditional comfort zone. We have a great saying about the comfort zone. Yeah. You've probably seen it. It's a great place, but nothing grows there. So I think this is forced growth. Particularly Definitely. For me, particularly for Gavin, we're looking at it. There we go. That's brilliant.
Love that. Is it the comfort zone's a beautiful place, but nothing grows there, right?
It's like we say, and I'm sure you say it to your members. You start your training career, you get fit, you start enjoying it, you start doing the pads, you start doing the bags, you start doing like one-touch sparring, and someone goes, "Oh, jump in the ring," and we do a slightly heavier round, and they go, "Oh, this is new." Yeah. I've sparred my whole life, but the first time they put a gum shield in and step through them ropes, it's like, this is out of my comfort zone for most people. Yeah. And I think the
fear comes, doesn't it? And that's where the fear comes.
And that's exactly
that comfort zone.
That's where I am now.
Yeah. What is it? What does they say? Fear stands for future events appearing real, right? And it's true, because you think back to your days in the military, Jackson, when you've jumped out of aeroplanes and you've done all that sort of stuff. The first time you did it, I know I did a skydive once, and you're there and you're absolutely bricking it. You know what I mean? To the point that you feel sick, and a bit like what you do when you do a grading public. And then you chuck yourself out of this airplane, and then you land and you think to yourself, I was right, that I'm going to do it again. Yeah, exactly. And it's again, it's not knowing what's on the other side. And I think that is what's paralysing everybody at the moment.
I mean, back to the parachuting piece. I never had that fear. Having been taught martial arts by my dad, Gavin, as you well know, he drives that fear out of you very, very quickly.
Still does. Still does.
It's interesting because looking back on some of the early experiences that I had as a kid, I don't know what it was like for yourself, Carl. When I first started doing martial arts, there weren't that many kids around. And if you went to a national tournament, there'd be 20 kids, all the way from 5 foot or 4 foot, all the way up to 15-year-old, 16-year-old kids that were 6 foot.
Yeah, I was the 5 foot kid.
Men. Yeah, I was the 4 foot kid. And all they used to do was like line you up in a straight line, count halfway, and go, right, you're the lightweights, you're the heavyweights.
Right,
we didn't have pads, we didn't have gloves. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And being a small kid for years, I always remember going to competitions and getting absolutely battered. But after probably 5 or 6 times, that fear of getting hit and fear of being hurt sparring disappeared. Yeah. And I think that for me was a really good lesson. And I've used that sort of training for me personally throughout my career. So when I went and did my military courses, I was never scared because I knew there was never anything as bad as getting absolutely battered. Going into competitions now, those sort of things don't scare me. Going into job interviews, going into taking a next grade with a panel of people that are judging you. I don't get that fear and those nerves because I know I've used those scenarios. I know I've been through it before. Yeah. And I've just said, I've been through it before. I know what's on the other side. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things in this country at the moment. That there's probably not enough of that goes on because we're in a very controlled society at the moment.
The snowflake era.
Yeah, dare I say it, yeah. People aren't used to those challenges. And I think that's why martial arts schools prosper.
Yeah.
And it's about introducing children at an early age to fear and what is fear. And allowing them to fail. And we spoke about this before, Gavin. Allowing kids, controlled fear, controlled failure is a good thing. Everything can't be green and rosy. And now we're seeing it now by the absolute ludicrous toilet roll hoarding. Yeah. People are fearful and they're just going absolutely mad. They can't control themselves through fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bonkers, isn't it? So speaking as 3 martial arts instructors then, what would we say, I suppose, to the general public or people listening to this podcast about fear, about how to overcome it? Because I think that's the thing. I mean, we're almost trained in what we do to put ourselves in that position. We're always overcoming things. When you do your gradings and things like that, you're constantly evolving. You're constantly putting yourself out of your comfort zone, aren't you? I like what you said, Carl, about your students. For us, we're seasoned veterans at sparring, but telling someone who's never put a gum shield in before to step in the ring is totally putting them out of their comfort zone. So I suppose, yeah. So what would be the thing that we, three martial artists would say to the public? This is what you need to do to try to, get yourself over the other side.
Hard one, because actually it's almost a little bit like, in my opinion, it's a little bit like bolting the stable door once the horse was bolted, because the preparation should have been taken place 10, 15 years ago for most adults now. So, what can we do to people? It's about making sure you're furnishing yourself with the correct information. And I know having, my partner and my own parents and my own circle of friends, some of the stuff that they're presenting to me about, oh, look what the government's doing now. Look, I'm looking at it and go, well, this is actually fake news. You can see by the top of the website, or you can see someone's cut and paste something. So you've got to be measured, and you've got to furnish yourself with the correct information. Certainly through this particular episode, the only places I look for my information are on the BBC News channel or Sky, valid outlets, and the government websites. And certainly not from what people are throwing around on Instagram, Facebook. It's mind blowing. But people are genuinely, their fear levels are raising because of the information that's being put around on Facebook. So just try and furnish yourself with accurate information from legitimate sources.
I would also mirror that. Like you say, to be honest, I don't watch the news, mainly because between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. I'm at the gym teaching when the news is on. And the last thing I want to do is come home at 10:30 at night and then watch misery on the news. So I don't watch the news. So, but I have done recently, and like I say, it's been the BBC or Sky. And you go on Facebook for like 2 minutes and you're just filled with dread and fear and anxiety. So I'm doing my best to kind of stay away from them platforms. Just even if you just see it quickly, it kind of filters through, doesn't it? And even this morning, so I went in to do a bit of tidying up and a bit of cleaning up. We had a few members in doing like a few little bits and pieces that, before they took their getaway. And even kind of just being in that society, again, there was only 4 of us in, but just us 4, tidying the gym up, having a bit of a laugh, a little bit of music on in the background, trying to kind of put the world to rights, but trying to make the best out of a bad situation. So rather than sitting on the sofa watching the news for 4 hours a day saying the world's going to end, trying to put a positive spin on it Surround yourself with positive people. Get on live chats. You guys are probably doing it. We're setting up a couple of Facebook groups and a couple of Instagram groups and stuff to just be positive. This is what we do. But I'm doing a poll on the couch every Monday morning for my members or anyone else that wants to come and chat to me. It's a half-hour chat. We're not going to be watching the news. I'm just going to say, look, guys, I'm on the couch. What was your weekend like? What are you doing? What are you doing today? What game are you going to play? Are you going outside? We go live later. So I think just surrounding yourself with positive people and trying to make the best out of any bad situation, I think.
That's it's actually a really good idea. I'm just making a note now. I think I might implement that, not just in my club, but also just with people that I know. Because when people are trapped in for so long, I think me and the wife have had about 3 arguments this weekend already. And I'm like, how the hell are we going to cope? It's like, it's always about, you've not...
That few, that's good.
Yeah, I'm like, you're not tidying up and you're making a mess everywhere you're going and you're not hoovering. I'm like, I'm busy doing stuff. but being trapped in, especially for some of the old folk and people with mental health issues and things like that, it's going to be quite a tough time, isn't it? And just being able to speak to somebody is actually quite a big thing.
I mean, this is even helping me now.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way of therapy, isn't it? And maybe instructors listening to it as well, hopefully it'll resonate with them too. I suppose just moving on slightly from the fear aspect into the goal setting thing, sort of nicely, I suppose, sort of segues into it from what we were saying. I know for me, it's really about trying to use the time to set good goals, things that I would never normally do when I'm really, really busy. I mean, most people, when you speak to people, what most people say is, what's the most important thing in your life? And they'll say, my family and my kids, right? I mean, I say it, everyone says it, but do you spend enough time with your kids? Do you spend enough quality time with your wife and with your kids? Because we're all too busy, running around looking for the next business opportunity, trying to keep our businesses going,
keeping your members happy.
Keeping your members happy, all those sort of things. I'm actually, we're in the position at the moment where we can really spend a bit of time with them. I know I've been at the loft this week and I've got Monopoly out and I've got Cluedo out, and I said to my youngest son Jack, right, tonight 6 o'clock, the Wi-Fi's going off, Xboxes are going off, and we're going to play Monopoly. And he's proper excited. He keeps convincing, are we going to play Monopoly? And I know, so we're going to do it at 6 o'clock, right? But that's certainly one of my goals, to spend more time with my family and to spend more time with my kids, talking about things which, I have to put my hands up. I've been quite bad for that recently because I'm so busy all the time. It's all right worrying about how you're going to get your income in, but you've also got to spend that time with your family, haven't you? So
Can I just, while you're on that point, I'm exactly the same in respects to do you spend enough time with the wife and kids, and you should make more time. But I literally find, obviously I do say 4 hours of coaching in the evening, 2 hours in the morning. We do some stuff with schools as well. And like even last night, I'd come home and then I spent another hour and a half just replying to members going, yeah, don't worry, we're still on. Call me tomorrow. We'll half your membership. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the sofa with the wife and I'm not ignoring her, but I'm certainly not interacting with her.
No.
Because I'm tied to my phone trying to keep when you're at BT, you finish at 5 and you go and you don't think about the next day's work till the next day. But because of what we do is so personal and passionate to our members, you feel like you're constantly with them, which then does detract. I mean, I was replying to people while eating dinner.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? And I think that's why
relentless, isn't it? It is.
It is relentless. So that's why maybe it's so important now to get a schedule and to sit down with your wife or with your kids or whatever and say, right, this week, these are the important things I need to do. Okay, I need to do my virtual classes. This is what I've done. I've said to my wife, I said, look, I'm doing my virtual classes at 10 o'clock every day. I'm doing my virtual classes at 6 o'clock every day, Monday through to Friday. Okay, I want to do some more podcasting. I said it's a great opportunity to get some more guests on.
Definitely.
Because this is the time. We're trying to build our. We're nearly up to episode 50, in which we're launching our book for episode 50. So we're nearly there. So we thought we'll get them to episode 50, and so we could easily do that over the next couple of weeks. We've got loads of guests that want to come on, so that needs to be scheduled in, and then there needs to be time to spend with the family. Needs to be scheduled in, because if you don't schedule it in, it's not going to happen. And I think more than ever, getting those goals, getting those important goals has to be has to be written down. I don't know if you listen to audiobooks, Carl.
Yes, I do. I've only listened to about 4, and that's only been over the last couple of months.
Listen to Grant Cardone, the 10X Rule.
10X Rule.
I listen to it every month without fail. I listen to it because it keeps me on track. You know, to the point, there's one chapter in it called "Don't Be a Little Bitch."
I'm going to ask as well. This is how bad I am. So there's my Audible. What was it called again? Sorry,
The 10X Rule.
10X Rule. I'm going to look at it now.
Grant Cardone, but it just talks about action. It just talks about taking action in whatever it is you're doing. It talks about setting up when people set their own businesses, they never envisage how long, how hard, how much effort it's going to take to do it. And it just really is a great book that makes you really, when you're feeling a little bit, when you're having a bit of a pity party and you start thinking, oh, it's all bad, all doom and gloom, all of a sudden it picks you up and it's like, right, no, I know what I need to do. I need to get on with this and I need to do that. So, Jackie, you're a big goal setter. Give us a little preview of the sort of things that you're wanting to get done in this time of being stuck inside.
Okay, so to be honest, for me, it's no change. It's actually quite an interesting scenario. So, as you know, in my out of my martial arts world, I run a virtual team. Well, I run a team of business development executives and salespeople, and they're spread across the country. So I very rarely sit down with them face to face. I make an effort. We sit down as a team once a month, but most of the time my team management is all done via Microsoft Teams, which is just another online platform where we can video and voice conference. As you'll know, Gavin, I'm on the phone to people 24/7, constantly talking to them, understanding what some of their challenges are. Customers, with my new customers in my normal job, I tend to the first 1 or 2 visits. I think it's always important to get in front of them, but it's not essential. So we've now mandated within our organisation that face-to-face meetings with customers are going to stop. So to me, really, it's business as usual. The only change I'll take more time with my customers on the conferencing calls and video meetings as we're doing now. And I was briefing my team only yesterday actually about having customer meetings, and of course there was a few objections. You know, as I mentioned, we want to be in front, we get more interaction seeing them. How can I do it when the kids are at home, you know, and the dog's barking? I said, well, let's think of it rationally. We do it anyway in our day-to-day lives now. The video conferencing, the phone calls will continue, probably even more in this particular time. But be prepared that when you speak to your customers, they are going to have kids screaming in the background, or their dogs are going to be barking, or the kettle's going to be going. Daddy,
I need a poo.
Situation.
I need a poo.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just let's take 2 minutes on the call, guys, and we'll come back in 2 minutes. I've just got to sort the little one out. Yeah. Be understanding. You know, these things are going to happen. Everybody is in the same boat, and for me, it's business as usual. So I don't really have any challenges for myself personally. It's about making sure that my team members are feeling more comfortable working from home, because they're normally out on the ground 24/7, as I said, talking to customers. But actually, you know, I'm always that busy. I'm always Zooming. You know, you and I Zoom a lot, Gavin. We do it to our other business partners. My customers, I'm always on the phone to. So to me, it's business as usual. So what I would suggest for people that aren't used to that environment is to get up in the morning, set yourself a goal of getting up at a particular time, as you would do for your daily work, and set yourself work periods of time throughout the day where you expect to achieve something. So if you've got several actions that you need to execute, set yourself an hour for each action with maybe a 10-minute break in between, where you can take a 10-minute walk, or you can make your lunch. Set yourself an hour for lunch, where you can, you know, get up, make your lunch, maybe go out for a 30-minute walk, or just take your mind off what you're doing and then come back to it. If you segregate your day into blocks, I think that'll be key in terms of setting yourself routine. And it's no different to having a bit of a routine that you used to do at school. You know, colouring on your little chart what you plan to achieve in each particular period to keep yourself going, particularly if you're self-isolated and you're working from home, because very, very quickly the days will drag on. But you want to make sure that you're giving yourselves plenty of break from your work. You're setting fixed times to go to sleep. Don't just fall asleep whenever you feel like it, because it's the habit to do that. And then make sure you set a fixed time to get up, do your exercise in the house, grab your shower, get changed, then target your first call for 9 o'clock or your first online meeting for 9 o'clock. Then maybe you need to write a report, schedule that report over an hour block and take a 30-minute block for a break, go for a walk. But you've got to set that routine. It's not just going to happen. Yeah, it's important that you have that routine set, and in that routine, there's plenty of breaks. Particularly if you're looking at your screen continuously. So that'd be my advice. Just I don't do it now because I'm so used to working remotely. But certainly when I first started, I had colleagues of mine that would find it really difficult to work from home. So they would get up, they would get dressed, they'd put their suit and tie on, and they'd walk for 20 minutes, then walk back into the house, take their jacket off, and say, right, I've done my commute to work. I'm now ready to sit down and work. So it's really whatever works for you, but it's about getting that structure and use at the start, use a timetable for that.
It's interesting, Jackie, that you've taught. Obviously, you're talking about your routine, but you probably 5 or 6 times within that routine you talked about exercise. Okay, without even realising it, right? That's because we come from a martial arts and we normally go to the gym and we keep fit. A lot of people's routine would never even dream about going for a walk or going for a run or whatever. So what do you think? I mean, over to you, I suppose, Carl. Talk us through the importance of exercise. I mean, obviously, we're all going virtually we're going to be doing classes online, people stuck at home. How important is exercise for mental health and everything else?
Oh, 1,000,000%. And exactly what you guys have said. Like I said this morning, I was in a bit of a downer before I got to the gym, and I walked through the door and you kind of instantly pick up because you're in that environment. And for me, I'd like to sound fairly sane and fairly normal. And my missus will tell me, when we go on holiday, when we ever get a chance to go, which is not that often, after about 2 days, she's like, you've not hit anyone for a couple of days, have you? You've not punched a bag or done some padding.
Punched anyone in the nose. You've not punched anyone in the nose for a least.
You're starting to twitch. So fitness, getting outside in the fresh air, getting your blood pumping is absolutely vital. Again, we had two mums in this morning. They both done like a half-hour pad session, like on the bags, and I took it from them, and they've said oh my God, that was I feel so much better for punching that bag for. They done like a 15-minute bag set each, and they're like, just life is so much better hitting that bag, and whether it be the release of punching something and having that anger release, that stress relief, or just being in the gym and getting your heart rate pumping. I mean, for me, and I'm probably sure you guys, there's nothing better than punching something. I'm so bored on the treadmill.
Especially punching Jackson in the nose.
See, I'd have to be careful.
It happens so infrequently. I can imagine it's a great treat for you, Gravin.
Yeah, see, I'd have to use my hands against you two because you're going to be a bit leggy for me, I reckon.
Yeah, we'll keep you away with that.
We're getting old, mate. We're getting old.
That side kick's not what it used to be.
Yeah, it still works. Still works in times of trouble. I mean, there's
times of fear.
I was just saying to my students last night in the class, said I was talking about goal setting before they all went. I was saying, myself and Jackson are both 4th dans, and we're probably due to do our 5th dan. When is it? Next year? Year after, Jackie? Is it next year? Year after?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and I've not learned any of my new patterns at all yet. So I'm like, you know what? We've got all this time. Let's get it nailed. And I think it's important to give back to your students to tell them what your plans are going to be. Not just make sure you go online, guys. Make sure you keep fit. Make sure you start following the routines. Make sure you do your planners, etc., and send it in to me. It's also important for them to know that you're going to be motivated as well, and you're going to keep your training up. I know. I dusted off my treadmill a couple of days ago, and I had my first sort of running session on there this morning, and it actually felt really good. I got in the garage, I got on the treadmill, I did a bit of body weight resistance type stuff, a few chin-ups, and it's probably, if I'm honest, I've neglected my training probably since Christmas. I know Jackie is always laughing at me, but I said, I trained really, really hard up till December. And then we had Christmas, didn't we? We had the America trip that we've got back on. Then obviously we've got all these. I'm making excuses now, but
that's what we do, though.
Yeah. And it's it's like, Carl, when you're running businesses. At the end of the day, the buck stops at you, doesn't it? So sometimes there's times you want to train, but you just can't drag yourself away from the office because you've got too much to do. If I don't do this now, it's not going to get done.
Yeah, and that's a daily for me. That is probably a daily. I'm still quite heavy on the mats at the moment. I can still teach 4 classes a night plus PTs.
Yeah.
And then when Jenny takes over, one of my lead instructors, she'll go and do the beginner cadets, for example. I'll go into the office, and then 2 parents will grab me before I got to the office. Then I'll be in the office trying to reply to emails or sort out, I don't know, like a grading that we've got coming up, and people are coming in and going, "Carl, can I have a quick word? And then 45 minutes has gone by, and it's time to get back in the class again. And then 3 hours later, if I'm honest, I'll do my best, but I can't train 100%.
No. You just interested.
You've got to set yourself time for it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Jack, you're going to go.
I was just saying, you've got to set yourself that particular bit of time in your schedule or in your timetable to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's something I'm really have been bad at. I tell everyone else to do it, exactly like we just said, routine, time, schedule it. I'll tell everyone else to do it, but I don't do it for myself.
But this is a great opportunity, isn't it? I mean,
I've got plenty of time now.
Yeah, it's true though, isn't it? But talking about using it to your advantage and getting over the other side of fear and start to look for the opportunities. There's no reason why we couldn't be getting in this best shape of our lives now. We've got the time.
Yeah,
we've got the time. Why? No, like I say, get in the garage or get outside. And we've got the summer coming up. You could be doing a HIIT session every morning. You could be doing press ups. You could do body weight exercise. You go for a run. You could do shadow sparring. You could do all that sort of stuff. And you could come back to your business in 3 or 4 months in the best shape of your life. And
I've got the push bike out as well.
I just said that to my student. I was speaking to. I don't know how you do. Do you do your own gradings at your dojang, or do you have an external?
So we do our own gradings, and they're under the ICO umbrella, so to speak.
Okay.
And I've just last year I got my 3rd dam, and then obviously I went to Birmingham to Neil Kelly's gym and got absolutely beasted for the whole day.
Nice.
And passed my 3rd dam, so I was quite happy with that.
Yeah.
Because gradings, I was just talking to our grading examiner today, and he was like, well, if you want me to do virtual gradings, then not a problem. We can maybe look at that. That's maybe the next thing. If your students are training at home, maybe we could get together for a day and we'll Zoom them and we'll go through the gradings in their back garden or at their home. I think you've got to use whatever technology you can to really sort of get through this period, haven't we?
I don't want to go that far yet, but we could.
Yeah, sure. Well, 6 months' time. It's
we don't know, do we? We don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. If we're prepared, ready, I think we're in a good shape. So we're going to start wrapping up then, guys. So just going to go around the table really, and just if we can get one bit of advice, Gavin, that you'd want to give to somebody in these quite strange times, what would it be?
I suppose my advice would be to look for the positivity and look for the opportunities that are around at the moment. I think while everyone's being negative, again, going back to the Warren Buffett, be brave when everyone's being fearful. I think now's the time to be brave, and now's the time to look for the opportunities that are going to be there when everything gets back to normality. But the thing is, the beauty about the situation we're in at the moment, okay, if you can call it a beauty, is that eventually it is going to go back to normal. Okay, it's not like I was chatting to the kids this morning talking about the Second World War. Imagine in 1939 was it? The Second World War started? My history was never very good. Okay, but let's say it was 1939. Okay, so
it's a good day.
Yeah, it's a good day. It sounds good. Okay, so let's say when all of a sudden you're in this position, they would have been just as fearful, even not 10 times more fearful than what we're being. Okay, but the difference is they never knew when that was going to end. They knew there was a real enemy. Okay, they knew there was, we could be invaded at any time. They knew that maybe mum and dad and brother maybe had to go off to fight or whatever it's going to happen, however it's going to happen. And that dragged on 5-6 years, whatever the Second World War was, 7 years, where we know there is going to be an end in sight. So I think the time is now is to prepare, is to look for the opportunities, is to keep working this virtual thing, because everything's going on to computers anyway. Virtual networking, virtual working, virtual training, it was happening anyway. And I know myself and Jackson, we've talked loads of times about getting more content onto YouTube and things like that, but it's now forced us to do that. So if you're the club that's doing that, if you're the instructor that's doing that, then the ones that aren't doing it are the ones that are going to lose. I think if we're doing it and we're really making that effort and we're pushing it forward, when everything gets back to normal, I think we'll come out on top. And and it's the same for our students. Again, things are moving that way anyway, virtually. And it could be that we enter a whole new world, in 6 months' time, where virtual training is the norm. People might be like, actually, you know what? I've enjoyed this virtual training. It was awesome. I get to do everything from my living room. I'm actually going to change the way I train now. I'm now going to do 1 session a week in the gym, and I'm going to do 2 sessions a week virtually. Who knows? But it could be like that. So we've got to position ourselves now as instructors to make sure that if that does happen, we're at the top of our game. I suppose that'll be my advice.
Good. No, that's a good point, Gavin. Right, what about yourself, Carl? What advice would you give?
For me, I want everyone to remain focused, try and find the positives rather than negatives, myself included. I think we need to be disciplined as well. So keep a routine. So if you're getting up at 7:30 in the morning, I think continue getting up at 7:30 in the morning. Get up, again, go for a walk, go for a jog, get on your bike, do a workout in your front room, get dressed and get ready for the day. So if you're working from home, get changed. Don't sit in your pajamas. Keep the routine as normal as possible. Because I think it'd be very easy to become very lazy very quickly. And then obviously mental health will kick in, depression, anxiety can kick in. You'll become bone idle. Your diet will get worse. And then you're in that slippery slope going downhill rather than the upward trend on the uphill, isn't it? Be kind. I think try and get into as many groups as possible. Don't isolate yourself, even if it is online. As much as I love being in a class with 50 people, but at the moment that is not going to happen. But don't isolate yourself. Don't cocoon yourself. Get into groups, get into Zooms, get into chats, WhatsApp groups, and kind of just chit chat, chew the fat. Have a laugh, because we're going to have to. I think.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Jackie. One thing I forgot to say on when you came over to me is, again, spend more time with your family as well. Use the opportunity to really, get close to your kids again, reconnect with your kids. If you feel as though they've maybe disconnected because of all the time they spend on Xboxes and stuff like that, really try to program that into your routine. Sorry, over to you, Jack.
Good points, guys. And for me, I suppose it's about, don't worry about the fear. Yeah, the fear is natural. Everybody's uncertain. There's anxiety. And there's lots of fear going around. People are going to be remembered after these events, and they are, strange events, and they're going to be probably for most of us once in a lifetime events. Yeah, you're going to be remembered by people to how you reacted during these times. Yeah, remembered by your family, remembered by your friends and colleagues. So try and put the fear behind, and don't think irrationally. Yeah, make some sensible decisions, and just try and continue as normal, really. And keep positive. Awesome. Yeah, really good chatting to everybody.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your listening platform. It would be awesome if you could also leave us a review. We really appreciate your valued feedback.
Also, check out our website, themotivatedmartialartist.com. We also have a YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook page, and Facebook group. All the links are available on the show notes below.
We'd like to thank again our show sponsors, skillsconnect.co.uk, the world's leading children's development programme for martial arts. If you're a martial arts school owner or instructor and are looking for some inspiration, ideas or drills for your children's classes, make sure you check the skills out.